Welcome to the recap of the Virginia 23 election. And this is a map of Virginia. We have 133 cities and counties. So I always like to show this to people, and people go, ah, yes, Virginia is mostly a rural state when you look at her land mass. But the really important thing to remember about the rural part of Virginia is nobody really lives there. There are many places where there are more cows than there are people. So while the red areas are very large, that is land mass. The blue areas are Virginia's cities. And the cities are our population centers. And so when you look at all the little blue up north, that's Northern Virginia. When you look at this blue here in the middle, that's Richmond. When you look at the blue over here, that is Norfolk and Newport News in Hampton Roads. And that tiny little blue dot down there is the city of Roanoke. All right, so this is what Virginia will look like until we swear in our new legislators. So as of election day, well, even now, Virginia has 140 seats in the state house. There are 100 seats in the House, and there are 40 seats in the Senate. The Dems had 22 seats in the House, so the Dems controlled the House, and the Dems controlled the Senate, sorry, and the Republicans controlled the House. When we seat the new legislature in 2024, there will be 51 Dems in the Virginia State House. And right now, there are 48 Republicans, and we have one House race, House District 82, that is still undecided. That district is separated by 173 votes. I am really having flashbacks of 2017 when I had Josh Cole's district that was a district of 159 votes. In the Virginia State Senate, where there are 40 seats, there are 21 Dem seats and there are 19 Republican seats. So in Virginia, the Democrats control the state House and the state Senate. It is a very small majority, and that means that the committees will probably be chaired by the Dems. Now, early voting, we had a good early voting turnout. It was less than 2021, but 2021, remember, was equivalent to the Virginia presidential. That was our gubernatorial election. So we had 1,194,185 people cast their votes early in 2021. In 2023, 776,234. So we had a lot of people vote early in person, which is the early voting that I like. We had a number of people attempt to vote by mail. Many of them were successful, some of them were unsuccessful. There are still ballot chases going on until Friday. Now, the top 10 districts for early voting turnout, and you'll notice some of them have check marks. Those were districts where we did a lot of work. SD 31, that is the Russet Perry race. SD 16, that's the Schuyler Van Valkenburg race. SD 24 is the Monty Mason race. SD 30 is Danica Rome. SD 17 is Clint Jenkins. And SD 27 is Joel Griffin. On the House side, these were the top districts for early voting in the House. So House District 30, which was Rob Vance, House District 21, and I don't remember who that is. I'm going to have to go look it up. House District 57, Susanna Gibson, and House District 55. I've been doing this too long. I must be really tired. I don't remember who House District 55 is. And I've been living with these numbers literally for weeks, but that's okay. These were ones we worked on. We had a very unusual election this year in that President Biden and Vice President Harris endorsed during a state race. So on the Senate, they endorsed Schuyler Van Valkenburg, Clint Jenkins, Aaron Rouse, Monty Mason, Joel Griffin, Danica Rome, and Russet Perry. And I put W's by all the ones that were able to win. They did a lot of House endorsements, 16, as a matter of fact. And they endorsed Michelle Maldonado, Josh Thomas, Travis Nemhard, Atusta Reeser, Marty Martinez, Amy Loeffler, Rodney Willett, Josh Cole, Shelley Simon, Stephen Miller Pitts, Kimberly Pope Adams, Nadarius Clark, Karen Jenkins, Phil Hernandez, Delegate Kelly Howler, and Michael Feggins. And you see a lot of W's on this page. A lot of our House candidates won as well. Now, we also had something very unusual this year in that in the Virginia House, there were 18 Democrats who ran unopposed. So, of course, they won their races. In the Senate, we had 2 Senate seats that were unopposed, both of them in Hampton Roads. Senator Mamie Locke and Sia Price. Now, the most expensive races, new money came in at the last minute. So I understand SB 31 topped $11 million. And I pasted the, they say these are not the final numbers because on Friday there can be adjustments, but they do not expect the adjustments are going to be big enough that any of these numbers will be upset. So I wanted you to see the importance of the early voting numbers, because when we look at election day on these 2 candidates, they are very, 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 very close. What really cemented this particular race were the numbers in early voting and mailed absentee. So both of those are early voting numbers. And if you were watching the race on Tuesday, either with me or on your own, you know that a number of these races, it just kept flipping back and forth and back and forth. And because they were about an hour late posting the early voting numbers, it was looking kind of dicey and kind of scary until about 10:30. Another incredibly expensive race, and a race where Governor Youngkin made a point of actually making a ad with Siobhan Donovan. We've got another race where $10 million, but when you look at the early voting numbers, this literally put the candidate over the top and put the race out of reach. Now, Monty Mason, this is a race, Newport News, the city of Williamsburg, Poquoson, and York County. In this particular race, now again, this is a $9 million state Senate race. When we look at the early voting numbers, remember the governor spent more than $1 million pushing early voting. You will see that we lost the early voting race in this particular race. So when this was flipping back and forth, when it flipped to the R side, it stayed there. We came in very, 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 very late on this race. Probably literally in the last 2 weeks of the race. I had overlooked this race because in 2021, Monty Mason won his district with 89% of the vote. And I just had not looked at how different his district was in 2023. So lessons learned for me. The most lopsided Senate race in terms of money was in Senate District 13, where it was Petersburg, some Dinwiddie, and then went into some of our southern counties. The La Charisse had raised $2.6 million. Eric only had 60,000. That reminds us, money and votes are not the same thing. I was expecting that La Charisse would have 65% of the vote or more. Again, she won with nearly 60%. This was an amazing performance by a first-time candidate, Eric Dietrich, who had absolutely no money. So races in Virginia are very, very, very interesting things. Now, Josh Cole. I know Reverend Cole. He is a wonderful, wonderful person. In 2017, at the end of election night, he was down 159 votes. We ended up getting involved potentially in a lawsuit because of some totally incorrect things that the Board of Elections did. We ended up losing that race. He won in 2019, he lost in 2021, and now he won again in 2023. So yes, I know. Judith, thank you so very much. Judith was here in the district and she actually canvassed for Josh Cole. But again, this is a state house race where $6 million was spent on a state house race. In my mind, this is insane. Now, a lot of people worked on this race, House District 97. It was purely in the city of Virginia Beach. So again, we had some decent early voting numbers and vote by mail absentee ballots. They weren't huge, but it was just enough to, when those ballots came in, it put Michael Higgins over the top. Another race, Josh Thomas. This was a race that was kind of off a lot of people's radar. I came in on this race literally on Monday when I looked at it and I looked at the money, and we just literally squeezed this one out. So I was delighted to see this race. This is another $6 million race. It is separated by 173 votes, and they have not called this race. This is our one totally undecided race. What really disturbs me is that the heart of this district is in Petersburg, Virginia, which is the poorest locality in the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. So to spend $3 million on a House race in that area, in my mind, is just wow. Now, I want you to take a look at these numbers. We had typical election day, old school for Republicans. They won the election day numbers, but because Kimberly Pope Adams had good early voting numbers and vote by mail numbers, that literally held in the race. So I think everybody here, and the lesson that I take away is early voting, getting your voters out and banking your votes are really, really key. I will be putting out a little op-ed probably on Monday. I might get to it tomorrow, where I'm basically going to tell the Virginia legislature that in looking at what they did with early voting in this election, I expect there will be no legislation introduced in the 2024 legislature to overturn early voting. I do not want to see bills to get rid of drop boxes, to end permanent vote by mail, to reduce the time of early voting, and to return us to photo ID. I think that we can say that both sides, the Republicans have embraced early voting, and in terms of what the Republican Party and the governor did, literally more than the Democratic Party. And then finally, this is the race where I go, and you need that race where you go, money isn't votes, and we can have a race for a reasonable amount of money. This is a race in Chesterfield, Virginia. When Deborah Gardner ran in 2021, she raised $1.4 million. For this race, after redistricting, when she looked at her district, she raised a very modest amount of money, $169,000. Her challenger had only raised $10,000. And this ended up being a win. So it is not necessary that our House races run into the millions of dollars. Now, in the Virginia General Assembly, it is going to look very, very different in 2024 than it ever has. It is going to, on average, get to be about 20 to 25 years younger, and it is going to be far more female. These are the new women who will be seated in January of 2024. La Cherise Aird, Danica Rome, our first grant senator, Russet Perry, Jennifer Carroll Boyd, Stella Pekarsky. On the House side, when we look at the races of our new women going into the House, we have Adele McClure, who is a Black woman, Karen Keys Gamara, who is Black, Atusa Reeser, who is Asian American, Amy Lockhart, Deborah Gardner, Ray Cousins, and Destiny DeVere Bowling, who are Black women. So, as I said, the face of the Virginia General Assembly looks very different. And so now I come to the part where I say thank you to the Center for Common Ground teams. Our postcard team for Center for Common Ground sent 286,879 postcards. So a very, very, very special thank you to Nancy Goodband, Carrie Wheaton, Barbara Comstock, Dee Nelson, Bill and Becky Raymond, Gideon Atcher, Brian Kramer, and all of our organizers in all the different states that wrote postcards. Remember, the incredible thing about postcards is we do have an address for all of our voters. We don't have phone numbers for all of our voters. And on our C4 side, under National Women's Political Caucus, a very special thank you to Robin Warner, where on our C4 side, we sent 265,000 postcards to or in providing information for other candidates in Virginia. Now, our phone bank team, we made from August 21st through November 7th, 130,255 phone calls. And because we asked and we said we still need calls on the Monday before Election Day and on Election Day itself, we added another 27,104 calls to make 157,359 calls from August 21st through November 7th. So our training team and our support team, our National Guided Phone Bank team, our phone bank hosts, a special thank you. Gabriel Wheaton, Reginald James, Meg Holmberg, Wendy Buckley, Barb Miller, Chris Wallach, Judith, our friends at the Worker Circle, and our marvelous friends at Bay Area Coalition, who every Wednesday held our C4 phone banks. Thank you. And this year, we officially mounted a canvassing team. So, and they were in Virginia Beach, they were in Chesapeake, they did a little run through Norfolk, they went to Newport News, they were in Portsmouth, and they were in Suffolk. They did pop up to the polls. They made it a point of being on polling locations on Election Day. Their official canvasses, though, were in Portsmouth and Suffolk, where they knocked on 440 doors. So thank you to our paid phone bank team leader, Janice Gay, who became our pop-up to the polls leader and also was our canvassing leader, to Tony Reed, D'Anthony Poole, Tanisha Sutton, and Sonny Morris. So you can see D'Anthony, and he's there, and they're holding the information that we provided to voters. And they were out there on Friday and Saturday, literally the last days of early voting. And then our texting team, we did not do a huge number of texts this year. We worked on Wisconsin, and Wisconsin literally drained our budgets, so there wasn't very much left for texting. So John and Josie worked with me getting texting campaigns ready. So on our C3 side, we spent 152,274 texts. With NWPC, we spent 54,165 text messages. And I am going to stop my presentation there. And we've got time where we can talk about what we're going to be doing in the future, and especially in Virginia. Now, Virginia loves elections. We have them every year. Next year in Virginia, in 2024, Virginia is going to have 2 U.S. House seats that are open. One will be in Northern Virginia. Representative Jennifer Wexton has a major health issue. She will not be running for re-election. So CD10 will be an open seat. And right now we have at least 2 people, Eileen Filer-Corn and Jennifer Boyce-O, who are coming out of the Virginia State House, who are very interested in running for that seat. I believe there will be more. The other seat that will be open will be CD2. CD2 is Elaine Luria's old seat. And I believe there is someone, Missy Cotter Smalls, who has indicated an interest in that seat. And that is in Virginia Beach. And I just saw a note from Melissa saying that CD5, which is currently a Republican seat, and that is Bob Good, they are going to definitely be looking for a candidate for that seat as well. Virginia has 11 congressional seats, and right now they are, I would have to go figure that out where we are right now. But when we look at redistricting in 2022, in Virginia, they did a gender gerrymander. So all the guys got seats where it was 30 points or more, whatever their party was. And the women got R2, D6, and D2. So they got seats where they were going to have to fight to get them and keep them. And all the guys got, this should be easy enough for you to win. So 2024 is going to be a very, very, very interesting race. So I know there's going to be a lot of groups that are going to be very, very interested in working on CD2, and now it's going to be more work in CD10 as well. It will be very interesting to see who our candidates will be for our other congressional district seats. And then looking, yes, and Senator Kaine is up for re-election in 2024. So he will be at the top of the ticket. And Senator Kaine is normally very, very popular. Looking forward in my crystal ball to 2025, when there is a new governor's race, we will then be looking at the statewide ticket, governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. And then there will be a third of the House and a third of the Senate. It will be a normal election year for the General Assembly. The entire General Assembly will not be up. There is always, we want to ensure that Virginia remains on a sane path. So we must always, be vigilant and work very, very hard in Virginia. In 2024, we will, of course, be working in Georgia with our partner at the Georgia Communities United for Justice. We will, of course, be working in Alabama with our Democracy Center leaders that are in Alabama. And we will do work in South Carolina. And there are a number of groups who have asked about North Carolina. We are currently working on some projects where if they come through, we would add Florida again to our repertoire of states, plus we would be adding partners in Florida. We would also add Mississippi again. And this time, for the very first time, because there are partners in Tennessee, we would be adding Tennessee. So Tennessee, Mississippi, Florida, those are possibilities right now. We will be waiting for the results of a proposal that we turn in. And if that proposal is accepted, we will be A, adding more states, and B, we will have resources to cover working in those states, something that we did not get for Wisconsin. So I'm going to open it up. I blathered all I intend to. I am going to open it up for questions.
There's a good one that just popped in from Ann Cowman. Did you see that? About Youngkin?
Yes. Youngkin is a glutton for punishment. Yes. And if you saw any photographs of him, he was looking very, very glum because the SD 16 race that he lost and the House District 40 race that he lost, he literally made 2 commercials for the women running for those seats. He, the governor, got personally involved in these elections. So one of the other reasons we, in addition to, as I said, keeping Virginia sane, we want to make sure we keep winning in Virginia, is we don't want Youngkin suddenly popping up in 2028 as a presidential candidate. So we need him to continue to be a loser in Virginia and Mr. Irrelevant. Youngkin would still be a sitting governor, so I do not believe he would run against Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine is very likable and very popular, so I don't think Youngkin would do that. And then let's see. Now, I don't think he'd be stiff competition. Yes, it's going to be interesting. Who will the new emerging candidates be for the 2024 election? So CD5 down in Southside and Charlottesville, CD1, which moved. I used to be in CD1, but now CD1 is down in Chesterfield and Henrico. That's going to be very, very interesting. Right. If in order for Youngkin to run for Kaine's seat, he would have to leave the post of governor very, very early. Well, remember, Virginia has a very semi-competent lieutenant governor in Winsome Sears. And I don't believe Governor Youngkin would entrust the state to Winsome Sears. So just don't think that is going to happen. And yes, tomorrow at noon, I will join the folks at Network Nova, and we will again be talking about our wins. There's a great question, Nicole. We will not know who voted on election day for 60 to maybe even 90 days, when that information will post back to either NGP Van and or PDI. We get the early vote numbers right away. We do not get the election day numbers for about 60 days. I don't know why. This is all on a computer. They know, they just don't release it back to the vendors. Yeah. Mhm. And I will be looking at that very, very, very carefully. Now, in 2023, because we had our C3 operation and our C4, our C3 operation was exclusively people of color. Our C4 operation was exclusively women, regardless of color. So for the women who were endorsed on the 501c4 side, we had a much bigger range of people that we contacted.
You've got
Yeah,
a couple
thank
people
you,
with their
Pat.
hands.
Yeah. All right. Oh, all right. Let me see. We'll start with Mark, then we'll go to Bob, and then we'll go to EJ. Hey, Mark, unmute.
Hey, how you doing, everyone? Congratulations on that great victory in Virginia. Next year, I live in Maryland. We do have a Senate race with a Black woman and a rich white guy, and for the Democratic primary, and the Democratic primary. I just want to say that we need to be aware that among Muslim and Arab Americans, the bottom has fell for Biden. And I have talked to people in Virginia, and that's true in Virginia. And I don't know what the numbers look like and how it all comes together. But this person is also saying it's a possibility that he could lose Virginia, because Muslims and Arabs are not going to vote for him because of what's happening in Gaza now and his refusal to call for a ceasefire.
That is going to be really, really interesting. And again, Mark, I do share your concern. We are a year out. This is a terribly volatile situation, and we have no idea which way it's going to go. We also don't know who is on the ticket on the other side. We just don't know. And then the question really becomes, if on the other ticket it is Trump, are they going to really vote for a man who supports a Muslim ban, or are they?
Oh no, they're not going to vote for Trump.
to
Don't read that. Don't read that as that they're going to vote for Trump. Don't read that.
All right. But again, not voting for Biden is basically voting for Trump. It's half a vote for Trump.
That won't sell.
Well, it won't sell yet, but yeah. I mean, I am very aware of that. And there's also the issue with young people. We've got the same issue. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And then Nadine has a question. looked at calls, texts, money put in the races, what worked, what didn't. Well, I can tell you, when we called for candidates, their numbers in the early voting every single day went up. So when we called for candidates on Mondays, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, their numbers jumped way up. When we started calling for Clint Jenkins, he had been down at the bottom of the early voting pile, and his numbers came up. While we were making a lot of calls for Trish Dwight Boyd, there was a period where she was between number 2 and 4 in early voting. So we know the calls to voters, because we were giving them information about early voting. We know that made a difference. We also know that as postcards went out through Postcards for VA, we could see the number of women showing up in early voting go up. As I said, we did very little texting, so we're not really certain how impactful texting was, because we text from the same numbers that we make phone calls from. And we didn't text anybody that we hadn't made phone calls for. So it's going to be interesting. We know that postcards work because there's so many people, we don't have phone numbers, all we've got are addresses. And so figure 500,000 postcards against 157,000 phone calls. I'm so glad those postcards were out there. I am really, 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 really glad. And again, when we get the who voted back in the voter file, we'll be able to go back and look at these people got a phone call, how many of them voted. These people got a text message, how many of them voted. So it's going to take us a while. Yes. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And all right. Bob.
Yes, hi. I've participated in maybe 5 postcard campaigns, and kudos to the people that design the postcards, because I am certain every single word is carefully considered before they're put on the postcard, and they're brilliant. And I also think they're very successful, because I've been on 5 postcard campaigns in close elections and won every one of them. So I think postcards work. One of the things I would recommend, however, is one of the postcard campaigns I did sent stickers with names on them. And that almost halves the amount of time it takes to do postcards. So I did 250 postcards. I could have done 500 if I had stickers. And I know it costs more money, but I paid for the postcards. I'd be happy to pay for the stickers, because peeling a sticker and putting it on the envelope is better than writing. And some of these names are long, and some of these addresses are long. So it would really help quite a bit if we could do that. And finally, I'm not sure how you decide who to send the postcards to, but I noticed when you were going through the winning elections, how many of those towns I wrote dozens of postcards to. So you seem to pick the right places too. So again, good job.
Thank you, Bob. One of the things that I did in June, immediately after the primary election, was I took a look at the state of Virginia. Now, Center for Common Ground, our voters are the BIPOC voters. And in Virginia, there are more Black voters than any other group of voters of color. So I created a spreadsheet and organized it with what races have the highest number of Black voters. After I did that, I looked at who was the candidate in those seats. Was it an experienced candidate, someone who had run for office before, or was it a new candidate that was probably going to need help? And then I immediately selected all the candidates where it's like, they've got this. I'm not going to send postcards. I'm not making phone calls, nothing. I made a mistake on Monty Mason's race because I was remembering his 2021 race and not looking at his new district. Literally until 2 weeks ago, I had him in the yellow column. Don't need to worry about this race. And I moved him over too late. So that is my mental thought process. And yes, I did it for 140 races. I identified races where the candidates, I liked what they were doing. They were working very, very hard. They were raising money. Those candidates would normally get put in the green pile. We're going to come in and we're going to help those candidates. And yeah, I grabbed the person running for Senate in my district, even though there wasn't a lot of help. You do hope, you do want those project candidates where you want them to run again. And maybe the next time they run with more experience, they'll be able to raise a little more money and be able to raise their profile. So I am very, very supportive of first-time candidates if I see you out there doing the work. So that is my thought process. So yes, I don't just make this stuff up and throw darts at a dartboard. I have a plan. EJ. You're muted. There, you're still muted.
Okay, good
There you go.
evening.
Hey.
I'm just really happy that we were able to pull this off and get majorities in both houses. But I do have a few concerns, particularly with the openings in the Congress and some of our senator and House can electeds are moving take to take those spots. And when we look at the 7th district, where uh, um, Spanberger is, if she's running for governor, we'll have to try to identify folks to fill that position as well. When we have
We don't, that's
one.
not official. That's not
Mhm.
official. Her mom doesn't even know.
Well, I'll know who's come and talked to me. And another, when we're looking at Boy Scout, we've only got that um one lead, that very small lead in both houses by one vote. So when we're looking at a Senate candidate, like Boy Scout wanting to run for Congress, and then we have a couple of people in the House where we only have one vote, and they're wanting to run for Congress. I think we have some concerns that we need to sort of strategize for to make sure that we get some people in there who are concerned about our concerns. So,
Right. Well, we would have in looking at District 10, Filer Corn is already out of office, but Boyce O is in office. Yes, I agree. We are very, very thin around the margins. And I know that Abigail is looking at could someone else win her district? So I have not heard one way or the other. I know what I have suggested, and I have not heard one way or the other, which is why I kind of didn't mention that when I wasn't sure. So Virginia is going to continue to be an amazingly interesting place. And
But-
Kristen, yes, I love your comment. There are no campaign finance rules in Virginia for state elections. If we are looking at a federal election, there are very strict campaign finance rules for both PACs and also individuals. And again, I do not believe that Youngkin would leave the governor to Winston's ears and go and run for Congress.
I understand,
Um,
but nobody wants Winston Sears breaking a 50-50 vote in our Senate either. So that is
That's
a
correct.
major issue that concerns me as well.
Yes.
So if we have
Does
our one
anybody
person
want
leaving.
Winston Sears doing anything?
Oh, so
So I mean, it really and truly is sad. It is sad. And we've got a couple of posts in the chat about ballot curing phone banks that are going on. So those are important. Oh, and I've got more questions. Let me get back to my questions. Gloria, Robin, Jed.
I'm sorry. I was chatting. I just wanted to kind of announce that I do plan to run in CD5 against Bob Good.
Oh my goodness.
I'm putting my committee together,
Yeah.
and people are telling me it's a long shot, but I believe this is the moment. And I am excited about the opportunity, and I plan on winning. So I look forward to working with this gang to make it happen.
All right, thank you. All right. Her name is Gloria.
Gloria Witt.
I know. I'm so excited. I can't type.
Yay,
Oh,
Gloria.
yo, Gloria. All
It's a-
right. Thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. Bless you, Gloria.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sign me up right now. Sign me up right now, Gloria.
Gloria, put
Okay.
your information in chat, please.
Will do.
And Gloria, come to the National Women's Political Caucus of Virginia for an endorsement, please.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, all right, all right. Jed.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun working on the campaign. And you're always amazing. That's something we can rely on. It's just wonderful. But my question is not about Virginia this time. I did also some work in Mississippi, and I'm interested in whatever anybody knows. I'm trying to read as many articles as I can to get the lowdown on what's happened in the ballot issues in Mississippi, and doing a little more research on that. I don't know what kind of product I'm going to get out of it, but if anyone has any ideas or any knowledge and articles or whatever, I'm going to put my post, what is this? My email into the chat, and just let me know. Just send stuff about Mississippi to me. I'm really interested in finding out more. And again, thank you guys. I bought my first car in Virginia Beach because I grew up in DC. So there we go.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, boy, didn't the time just fly by? Oh, Robin, yes, Robin, I see you. There you are.
Hi, sorry. So I was really concerned with the reports that the ballots that were flagged for rejection in Virginia were mostly ballots that were sent in by people of color. And I'm wondering if you have any information on why that is, and if there's anything that we can do, because that's unacceptable.
I had heard that as well. One of the issues in Virginia is, in Virginia, we changed the law. We voted on a new law that said you no longer require a witness signature. It's the last 4 digits of your social security number. And whenever we pass a new law, during the primary, vote by mail works one way. During the general, now it works different because our voting law changes go into effect in July. So I am not certain if it was that change in procedure that confused people. I don't like vote by mail. It's complicated. You really have to think about what you're doing. And if you get distracted, it's very, very easy to miss something. And I had also heard that Republicans in Henrico County were urging Black voters to vote by mail, knowing that it has a certain level of complexity to it. And if you're not used to it, it's very easy to do something wrong. So I don't know. I just heard that. So it will be interesting to see what really is going on and what those numbers are when we're looking at ballot curing. Whose ballots were they throwing out? Again, we know that the other side has really, really, really made an effort to figure out ways to suppress the voter of color vote. Whenever I've caught them, I've been able to beat them over the head with it and then make them stop. When they wanted to close all the early voting precincts in the Black area of Richmond, when they were saying, oh, people who had in technical infractions and had their rights restored, they were converting those to new felonies and revoking their right to vote. We beat them up over that. So this one, it's a little more insidious, and I just don't have those details. But I will check with folks and see who may have more information. And Robin, you have another comment? Yeah. All right. Again, thank all of you for all the phenomenal work you did. Carrie.
This is a little off topic, so you don't have to take the question, but I'm curious your ideas about Joe Manchin and what are we gonna do?
Well,
Good
it's
riddance.
not like we lost a good Democrat or a good anything.
I know.
You
But we
know,
need to gain
so,
one somewhere else, don't we?
yeah, and this is going to be a tough Senate year. John Tester normally wins by a couple thousand votes at the most. We've got Bob Casey. There are a lot of tough races that are out there. We were going to need to get rid of Matt Sinema anyway, so he voluntarily left. 2024 is going to be an amazing year. It really, 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 really is. I believe we will take the House back. But then the Senate could, in theory, be a problem. So I haven't figured the Senate out yet. I've done a little more thinking about the House. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm more worried about the president.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, what options do we have?
Yeah, not a lot. So again, I want to end on a happy note.
Andrea,
Yes.
one question. Can I ask a
Yes,
question?
all right, Barbara, yes.
Brewing in the background, so I apologize for the noise. Are we going to be doing uh registration for 2024? Or are you not
No.
getting registration at
No,
all?
we don't do voter registration.
Okay. Okay. So
No, and there is a reason we don't do voter registration. We don't do voter registration. It's fine when you do it in person. We will not phone bank or postcard because you have to buy, and it's very, very expensive, the list of voters that are really unregistered. The list of voters that are unregistered in VAN are very, 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 very wrong.
okay.
So no, it is expensive enough to just do the work that we do. For people that are on the ground, our democracy centers, they will do voter registration because they are there in the community and they meet people and they can check right there on their phones, are they registered or not? And if people really aren't registered, they can get them registered. So I know Georgia Communities United for Justice, they do voter registration, and the groups down there, the Divine Nine, the fraternities, that is part of their DNA of who they are. But they are out in the community and they are literally talking to people. As an organization where so many of us are remote and we're depending on lists that are wrong, no, it doesn't make sense for us to do it.
Okay, thank you.
You are very, 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 very welcome.
You know,
All right.
Andrea, one thing just came to mind. I'm wondering, you know, how the governor's group purged those 16,000
Yes.
votes from the roll. I'm
Yes.
wondering if those were in any of the areas where we had those close races. And maybe could be some research we might want to look at where
Yes,
those
that
votes
is
were close.
that is something we want to look at. Richard Walker already has a lawsuit. The governor has tried to abdicate responsibility and said it wasn't my fault. It was elect. Excuse me, you're the governor, you are the god of restoration of rights, you're the god of voting on that one issue in Virginia. And I hate to tell you, but the Board of Elections reports to you. So, yes, it will be very worthwhile looking at those races because a number of them, it was a couple thousand votes. It was very, 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 very close. All right. And we know that even the governor saying, oh, it was only 300 and some odd people in Richmond. This is the work. See, now I know I've got the hardcore folks here. This is the analysis that Daily Kos did. So you can see this race, it's less than 3%. This is 2%. These races are definitely the really close ones worth taking a look at and seeing how many voters did we lose in those areas because the governor revoked their restoration. It's interesting though, because people normally only found out about it if they went and tried to vote. So it's going to be interesting looking at all that, but we've already got the lawsuit. Yep. Well, all right, everybody. Yes, Nancy, 2024, we've got to figure out what are all the threats, what are they going to do, and then we've got to be prepared to get in front of it and have that answer. So, yes. All right. Take care, everybody. Take care. All righty.
So much.
I will see a lot of you or some of you on Friday. I want everybody go and have a good Thanksgiving, have a good holiday season, and we will via email. We'll probably not do anything until early December, when we will have more of an idea of what our plans are for 2024. And then we will get ready to start the new year with a bang.
Sounds good. Thank you.